Well, happy Tuesday. It is Tuesday, May 31 in the year 2022, and welcome to another edition of Tuesdays with Thom, brought to you by the Best Girl consulting firm. So here we go again. Another familiar American tragedy, another shooting, another school shooting, another disturbed individual, distraught parents, mass funerals, all with guns and ammunition purchased legally by an 18-year-old. More than 100 rounds were fired in the school. The gunman looked one teacher in the eye and said good night, and then coldly killed her. 19 children and 2 teachers were killed in the deadliest U.S. school shooting in nearly a decade. Yeah, there were a lot of mistakes made, a lot of finger pointing going on, and of course, the useless debate on guns in our society. The grieving will affect many for years to come. You send your child to school and they don't return because they've been killed at school with a weapon of war. I can imagine that happening when I went to school. My parents would send us off to school knowing that we would come back that evening. It's not like that anymore. Dr. Lillian Leo, L-I-O, pediatric trauma director at the University Hospital in San Antonio, commented about the high capacity firearms. She said, when we're dealing with high velocity firearm injuries, we may not get a whole lot of patients. We were treating destructive wounds, and what that means is that there were large areas of tissue missing from the body. Robb Elementary School, Tops Supermarket, who and what will be next? Okay, our G-list guest for today is Art Franklin. We actually have 2 G-list guests today, Art Franklin and Cedric Allen. Art is a primetime news broadcaster from Birmingham. He signed off on Channel 42, my old TV station, for the last time. He said he will remain in the Magic City, though, continuing to tell the stories of community members, empowering them to change the world around them. And we need more of that. Art is a Detroit native with a decades-long track record of thoughtful, dogged journalism. Franklin said there's much more he hopes to accomplish as he moves forward. Cedric Allen is a jazz festival promoter based in Birmingham, Alabama. He is best known as the producer of the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival, which he and Art are putting on this year, which draws more than 20,000 music lovers to Birmingham's historic Lynn Park. He is the president and CEO of Empowerment Inc., and we look forward to having a discussion with both of these gentlemen today. This edition of Tuesdays with Thom, of course, is sponsored by our partners, the Best Girl consulting firm. Best Girl has been providing customized solutions to executive issues for over 34 years. So let's hear from Best Girl.
Best Girl is a consulting firm that provides customized leadership, access and inclusion, public relations, communications, and organizational consulting services. Clients include Fortune 500 companies, utilities, higher education institutions, small businesses, and associations. Best Girl's team of consultants, led by Joyce Gilly-Gossam, Emily Hedrick, and Sean Jones, partners with business and education clients to promote organizational effectiveness, communication, motivation, and leadership, with always an impact on the bottom line. Best Girl's customized consulting services include strategic planning, corporate communication, executive coaching, fundraising, and economic development.
Best Girl creates the solution that fits your needs. So let's get to our roundtable regulars and introduce Barbara Wallace Edwards and Michael Walker. Barbara Wallace Edwards, of course, is a Birmingham, Alabama native. She is a roving reporter for Tuesdays with Thom, and we look forward to talking to her. And Michael Walker is a regular. Michael is out of Atlanta, and we look forward to talking to the both of them. Let's start with Barbara. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Thom. I'm doing well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm doing good.
I have one correction, though. I'm not a Birmingham native. I've been here a long time, so it may feel like it, but I'm a native of Mobile. So let's not leave that out.
Barbara, it feels like Barbara's a native of Birmingham. She's a native of Mobile.
Absolutely. I've been around this place a long time. So yes, you're right. It feels like home.
So what's happening with you today, Barbara?
Thom, I just got back home for Memorial Day activities and had such a wonderful weekend. Got a chance to spend some time with family and got a chance to go out to the park on Sunday evening and listen to the Alabama Symphony in there for their pop concert series. So it was a great weekend.
They were in Mobile?
No, this was in Birmingham.
Birmingham.
This was in Birmingham. Yes, but I spent time with family here in this area all weekend.
Okay. Your thoughts?
Oh gosh, the tragedy in Texas. I thought that the tragedy in Buffalo, that was the tearjerker for me, of course. And after last week's event, my heart just goes out to those families. There was one gentleman whose wife was a teacher at the school, and he was so heartbroken. I understand he had a heart attack and passed away just, I think, 2 days after the event. It's just heart-wrenching. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional just talking about it.
Well, and we won't stay with it too long. I just think, I don't think an 18-year-old should be able to go in and buy that type of weaponry.
Absolutely,
I just don't think that's, if you're not gonna do anything about the guns, then at least change the laws, the rules, so that somebody 18 years old can't go in.
There is no reason for an 18-year-old to have that type of guns or ammunition or anything like that. And they have to put background checks in place again. I mean, and maybe this guy would have even passed a background check. I don't know, but certainly an 18-year-old, like you said, shouldn't have this type of guns and ammunition at his access that he can use at any time. They're just not mature enough at that age. I agree. Let's get Michael on here. Michael Walker, how are you, buddy?
I am doing well this morning, Thom. I hope you're doing well, and you as well, Barbara. Good morning to both.
Thank you.
Michael, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty good. It was uneventful. That made it a good weekend.
It was quiet, so it was good. Huh?
That's right.
You remember when quiet was boring. You remember when you had to find something to do on the weekend.
Yeah? Right. Now at this stage in life, I don't want anything to do on the weekend. I just want peace and quiet and uneventfulness. And in the day's time, if you have an uneventful holiday weekend, that's a good weekend.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
That's true.
Your thoughts on the thing in Texas?
Thom, I'm at a loss for thoughts, to be honest with you. It's hard to articulate all the issues and the concerns surrounding that, other than the horrificness and the sadness that took place, where these young lives that are, 9-10-year-olds going to school, and you live in a nightmare. I think that, I know that people in Congress and elected officials are going to have to take some action. I understand the different sides of the issue. And part of the problem is that we have so much convolutedness involved in every issue, and it becomes political. And I agree with you and Barbara both saying that a normal 18-year-old shouldn't be able to go in and buy military assault style weapons and what have you. And then you have these other people that are talking about the Second Amendment. And then I think part of the other side of that is, well, you can enlist in the Army when you're 18, can you not? Is that true or not?
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. Yeah. So I think that's going to come into it too. You say, well, you're 18-year-old, you can't go and buy any weapons like this, but you can go into the Army.
But those that go into the Army are trained to use that type of those weapons. They don't just go in and buy them with no training, no thought process, and they also have to go through testing before they can even get in the Army. So it's just not randomly giving it to an 18-year-old.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just saying these are the things that's going to be looked at and the arguments that are going to be brought up. If you can go into the Army between the ages of 18 and 22 and serve for 4 years and come back out, you can still go buy a gun then. And you have post-traumatic stress syndrome from those people. I think one of the solutions that's been talked about are these red flag laws and implementing that. And that's where it seems that the breakdown has happened, because this particular person, as we talked about before, had been cited for making threats like this, and he'd been all on social media making threats like this and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if my memory is correct, they had a social worker, somebody to come in and talk, and they decided he was not a threat. To me, that's where it broke down right there. Because if they had implemented the red flags and say, hey, this guy should be flagged, we need to watch him, put him on this watch list, he cannot buy any weapons or what have you, then I think that we could have maybe averted that, what just happened. But I know there's a lot of talk now about the federal government stepping in and having states, each individual state, pass these red flag laws that would allow judges to take guns from people and prevent people from buying it. And I guess you put them on some type of database like they do Most Wanted or what have you. But we've got to do something from a legislative standpoint. And again, just talking, I know another part of the argument is going to come up, and they're going to say, well, look what happened in Ukraine, where Russia invaded them. If those people didn't have guns to protect themselves, they'd be totally at loss. Okay. And I know that's what the people that's on the gun rights side are going to come up and say, we need guns to protect ourselves from the Second Amendment. So that's what I mean when I say it's so convoluted and what have you.
And nobody wants to talk about the truth, because the
Right.
Second Amendment isn't about AR-15s.
Right.
You know, and so it's convoluted, as you say, because we don't want to deal with the truth.
Absolutely.
We prefer to cloud it. And I just think, I can't imagine my mom allowing us to go to school knowing we might not come back.
Absolutely.
Because somebody's going to show up there with a gun. We never had these type of issues back then, and it's just unfortunate that we've allowed that to, and I say we because I guess it is all of us.
Right.
We've allowed that to prosper in our society.
And Thom, I don't know if you saw, they interviewed many of the children who were at the school that day. And there was one young man, 10 years old, that they interviewed, and he was talking about how fearful he was that day. And he's afraid to go back to school. He never wants to set foot in the school again. And, you know, these kids are going to deal with this for the rest of their lives. It's a totally traumatic experience for them. And
these kids are going to deal with
understand.
The rest of their lives, and their parents are going to deal with
absolutely.
the rest of their lives.
Right.
Somehow or another, you end up maybe blaming yourself.
Right. You know, I think about this, and I feel like our society has deteriorated so much where now youth are not allowed to be kids.
Nope.
And they are not brought up with discipline, a sense of responsibility, moral turpitude, or what have you. And part of it is social media, because you have all these games where kids can get on here, and they got these games where they're shooting people, killing people, robbing and doing that, and they're emulating that. And they're growing up thinking that's just okay. That's right, you know. And I recall, as you know, I told you all, I was raised by my grandparents, but we had 3 guns in the house. You know, we had, you know, the shotgun, the 12 gauge, double barrel Hamlish, 14, all this stuff. But I was taught at a very young age, this is nothing to be played with.
Right.
Okay. The gun here is only for protection. You do not play with them. And my grandfather would take me out and teach me gun safety, but also responsibility. And I say that to say that I continued that growing up. And when I had issues with my own son that had a gun, and it was so funny because, and he didn't get the gun from me. He got it from his maternal grandmother, and she gave him a gun. But I was shocked when he had some issues, and we were sitting down talking with a counselor, and I found out that he had a gun riding around in the car and shot it and went through the floorboard, you know, and I looked at it, you know, and one time he was at his apartment with a gun and he shot the couch. And I said, what is your problem? I say, do you not realize you shooting a gun in a car, it could have ricocheted off the floorboard and killed you.
Or someone else.
Right. I said, where did you get this from? And it was so funny that when the counselor said, well, where did you get the gun from? who gave you the gun? Did your daddy give it to you? And he said, no. And he says, well, do you know, did your dad ever have guns growing up? He said, no. Well, I did. I had a gun, had it in the bedroom, but he and my daughter, Michaela, never knew I had a gun because they never saw it. I had it tucked away in a place that they could not reach it. And I had the clip in a different position so that if I needed it for protection, only I knew where it was. So he grew up all that time thinking I never had a gun, but I had a gun all the time. And parents got to get back to doing basic stuff like that. Now, it blew up on me because his grandmother on his mother's side gave him a gun. I never would have done that if his mother and I still been married and I was involved in the house. And I think that's an issue with fathers not taking responsibilities.
Well, my dad had a double barrel, which I have now. But we were told, we all knew where it was, in their closet, but you didn't go near that.
Right.
That was just the way it was. You didn't go near it. And so I don't know.
Same in our household. You know, we had a rifle. My dad had a rifle hanging on the wall, and he had a gun in the drawer. We knew where it was, but we also knew that it was off limits to all of us, and we never touched it. I mean, it wasn't even an issue. We were afraid, fearful.
Yeah.
First of all, of even touching the gun because it might, go off, but afraid of what our parents would do to us if we did touch it.
I know that
it was never an issue. They didn't have to hide it from us.
Well, this isn't a funny subject at all, but I begged my dad I lived in one of those neighborhoods where people shot out the old on New Year's Eve and brought in the new, and everybody bam, bam, bam on New Year's Eve. So my dad, we had woods behind our house. So my dad went out there and he said, come on, go with me. Went out there and he shot it once or twice. Bam, bam. And I said, let me shoot. I begged him to let me shoot it. And he said, no, this guy, the kicker's too strong for you. I think I was about 10 or 11 years old. No, let me shoot. I shot that thing. It kicked me up against the house. And my shoulder was hanging down like this. And he said, you want to shoot again?
No.
No, that's all right. I'm okay now. So, and that was the last time I shot that gun.
Right.
And haven't shot it since. So anyway, I mean, it's not. This is not a laughing matter, but man, I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the parents more than anything. I feel bad for those people whose kids don't come home.
Exactly.
That's we had Memorial Day yesterday to honor the men and women who have gone to war and didn't come home.
Right.
And now we have to think about the kids.
A parent just don't think about dropping their kid off at school, or in that case, they'd had an honors and awards program that day. Many of the parents had just left the school. They'd seen their children, at school that day. You think I'll see them again in 2 or 3 hours at the end of the school day, and they never made it home. And it's just, again, that's just heartbreaking to even think about it. And those parents, again, they're not going to recover from that. I don't think they'll ever recover from that.
I think Michael has dropped off. Well, I guess Sean is working on that.
Right.
I got a couple of other quick things I wanted to run you guys. What do you think about the Colin Kaepernick thing? You think he'll get back in the NFL?
I hope so, Tom. I've said that all along. I think he deserves another an opportunity to play again. And I understand his workout went fine. So I think he will play again.
It looks like they're trying to ease him back in. He's in a situation where he wouldn't be the starter.
No, he wouldn't be the starter.
He wouldn't even be vying for that.
Right.
And so maybe that's less of a situation for people to deal with.
Right.
I don't know. And the other, I was hoping Mike will come back because he told me he had we talked about Herschel Walker and he had some news he wanted to talk about with Herschel. But also, they're having the SEC meetings down here where I live.
Yes.
And Jimbo and Nick Saban will be there.
You might want to go. You might want to go down there, Tom. You may have to break up a fight.
What's interesting is how hushed it became. I mean, it was news for a day, and then they okay, I guess the commissioner's
They
like, hey, you
shut
guys
it
know
down.
better.
They
You
shut
know,
it all down.
cut this out.
Right.
And they've cut it out. So it's not news anymore. So I guess the question is, were they just ratcheting up the drama, you think? Who knows? But we'll wait for, what is it, October the 8th?
Yes, yes.
And that'll be a
and it was so funny, Tom. I don't know if you saw it, but SEC baseball tournament was here in Birmingham, and Texas A&M and Alabama played. Well, the Texas A&M coach someone had a picture of Jimbo in their dugout, saying, dig them, whatever they are, gig them, or whatever they are, the horns or something. So that was just kind of a stab at Alabama and Nick Saban as well, they said. So, it's still going on. I guess it's quiet adversity now, but there's still some
somebody
adversity
told them
there.
they needed to shut up.
Yeah.
And,
yes.
So far, they've shut up. So
Right.
Anyway, I don't know what happened to Michael. I guess he'll be back. I'm sure Sean's working on it.
And Tom, I want to add too, congratulations again to our Birmingham Stallions. Undefeated. They're 7-0.
Still undefeated.
They're still undefeated, 7-0.
That's great.
And so they're going to the playoffs. And you asked a question a couple of weeks ago if there were any Auburn players on their team, and there are none. I think there's 7 or 8 in the USFL league, but there are none on the Birmingham Stallions team.
I think the concept is interesting that they play all the games in one city.
Yes.
I mean, that saves a lot of money.
It does.
That's a big part of, I'm sure, the overall financial structure,
right?
How they put this thing together. But it's interesting. And so I can't say that I followed it that closely every game, but whenever I'm flipping and I see it, I stop and watch it.
Right.
And it looks like good quality football.
It really is.
There are a lot of football players out there that aren't playing football.
Right.
And that can and are capable of playing football.
Yes.
So.
But the games are well attended. I think they're able to keep the prices down. I think tickets to the games are only like $10 because the costs are so low. They don't have to do the traveling and paying the teams to live in visit a different city and stay in hotels. And so it's been a good thing for the city of Birmingham for sure.
Well, good deal. Okay, well let's go to Sean and do Got a Minute. I think we've lost Michael. So Sean, are you out there? We'll do Got a Minute. Sean.
Good morning. My name is Sean Jones, and this is Got a Minute. Hello to everyone joining in with us this morning. I hope everyone is well and in great spirits this week. Yesterday was Memorial Day, a day when Americans honor the men and women who have died fighting in American wars. For many people, Memorial Day starts the unofficial start of summer and a 3-day weekend of barbecues, beach trips, and other outdoor activities. But for those who have lost loved ones to war, it can mean visits to the cemetery and the reemergence of grief and pain. Now let's get into it. Reported by NBC News, 2 former Navy SEALs who did not want people to lose sight of the true meaning of the holiday co-founded Carry the Load, a nonprofit group dedicated to the mindfulness and awareness of those who died in service in the U.S. military. Every year, Carry the Load organizes a month-long national relay consisting of 5 routes covering 20,000 miles across all 48 states in the continental USA. People march in remembrance of their loved ones' service and to make sure their memories are never forgotten. Thank you all for joining in. My name is Sean Jones, and this is Got a Minute.
Thank you, Sean. We appreciate that. And I want to go back. We got a comment from, when you got your G-list guest is a guy that whose job it is to do the news, or was to do the news, has given us some news. And Art Franklin says that the USFL plans to have all the teams play in their respective stadiums next year.
Yes.
So, I guess you start out where you can start, and then you grow from there.
Right.
Michael, you're back. I just want to get a quick one from you because we need to get to the G list. You mentioned that you had so you got some Herschel Walker news. Let me just put it that way. In terms of what happened last week with Herschel.
Well, last week, Herschel won the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate for Georgia. So he will face Reverend Raphael Warnock in November to see who will end up being a senator from Georgia, taking the former position that was held by Johnny Isakson in the U.S. Congress. Herschel won with, I think, somewhere in the neighborhood of between 60 and 70% of the vote. It was predicted that way. I told you guys I thought that Herschel would win, and he did win. So we'll see what happens in the future. Herschel had a couple missteps the night of, because, as you all know, the last Tuesday was the day of the shooting out in Texas. Mm-hmm. And right after he won the Republican nomination, he was asked a question about what should be done. And I think he probably was caught off guard, and his answer really wasn't really congruent, as I might say. As a matter of fact, that's what Fox News said. He had an incongruent answer to it. So, Herschel's going to have to get up to speed and be able to look at issues, decipher information, process it very quickly, and then be able to articulate it in a manner that everyone can understand. And that's just part of the game, and when you get into that, your every word is going to be heard by everyone, and they're going to bring it back up. So we'll see how Herschel gathers himself and moves forward.
Well, when you're throwing words at the man like incongruent, hey, I understand, because I don't know what it means either. So let's move on so that we have some time for our guests. Today's G-List guests are two, Art Franklin and Cedric. Oh, Cedric, where'd you go?
Allen.
Cedric Allen. Cedric is a jazz festival promoter. He's based in Birmingham. He's best known as the producer of the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival, which draws more than 20,000 music lovers to Birmingham's historic Lynn Park. Art Franklin, as I mentioned earlier, is a former newscaster with recently at Channel 42 in Birmingham. Art he came to Birmingham over 30 years ago, was his first time around. He says he's known every mayor since Richard Arrington. Richard Arrington appointed him to the Birmingham Youth Commission. Bernard Kincaid is a fraternity brother, and Randall Woodfin has even challenged him to a dance-off. I want to be there for that. But there are rumors about Mr. Franklin that won't go away, and those rumors are that he may run for Birmingham's highest political office. So let's get the two gentlemen on, and we'll go from there. Art and Cedric.
Good morning. A lot of rumors out there, Thom.
I ain't gonna pressure on it. But I had to throw it out there, and it never hurts.
You did, but let me, before we get started, first of all, I'm so glad to be a part of the show and being with you on Tuesdays with Thom. But it would be remiss of me not to mention about your first topic, because I think that's so important before we move into some of the softer things. There's so many families right now are still grieving and need comforting, because they're still learning more about those final moments that happened in class 112, that awful day when the gunman came into that classroom. We heard about children being trapped in their rooms trying to call 911 while the police officers were waiting for an hour before they confronted that gunman. And it's possible that some of those children may have bled to death.
Yes.
And all of this coming on the heels of that racist massacre in Buffalo, where 10 people were killed at a grocery store there. And the common theme here, both of these gunmen, 18 years old, and were able to legally buy the weapons that they had. So right now, there's an investigation going on with the Texas Department of Public Safety. The U.S. Department of Justice as well is investigating and will review the police response that day. So hopefully we'll find out more about what happened that would lead to a better way of response for police agencies should this happen again in the future. We keep seeing it happen. But in the meantime, we're just praying for those families and hopeful that they can find some comfort and that God will send them some angels of mercy right now. So I just wanted to make sure that I did not start without recognizing what happened in Texas that day.
Okay. Cedric, you want to chime in on that? Or
Yes, Tom, thank you. And good morning to everyone. It really hurts. I'm a prior military gentleman that was had Navy time. So I understand the right to bear arms, but at some point you have to take responsibility. And so hopefully out of this tragedy, we will find some kind of resolution to it, because man, an 18-year-old didn't have the ability to process just when
That's
he's
right.
getting up in the morning, not alone talking about a weapon, of mass destruction. So I'm standing by to see how this goes with the legislators and see, what will come out of it. Hopefully some great things.
Okay. All righty. Let's and I agree with you guys, and you hate to say let's move on because that is the most serious topic we're going to deal with. But tell us a little bit about the Steel City Jazz Festival.
Well, we're excited about coming back to Birmingham. Of course, this is home, so everything starts at home. And knowing that we are, bringing the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival back in Birmingham, the response has been overwhelming. We have so many people coming in from around the world, from the globe. Matter of fact, I had a call, Tom, that came in from England, and they were saying they're coming in. Yes. And we were excited to hear about that because that's saying our footprint is really reaching, beyond the shores of Alabama and the Southeast and then the world.
Well,
and to talk about the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival, Tom, we are so beyond excited, uber excited when you think about 23 phenomenal artists, jazz and R&B, true smooth jazz. There are a lot of festivals in this country, some of them claiming to be, jazz festivals that have morphed into other types of festivals. But when you want to talk about a true smooth jazz festival, the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival has become the premier jazz festival in the Southeast. In fact, the Birmingham Business Journal showed that we were in the top 15 of events in the entire state when it comes to the type of people that we draw, the amount of money, the economic impact to the city of Birmingham. But you're talking about a festival with the likes of Boney James, Kirk Whalen. We're talking about Kirk Whalen. We're talking about Grammy-nominated award-winning artists. The Isley Brothers, Music Soul Child, Mesa. These are tremendous artists. Marion Meadows, and even our local artists here, Eric Essence, who has 30 CDs to his name. There is no festival like this festival here, and we did more. We added this year, we added fashion to the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival, which makes it even greater. Our hosts, we're bringing them out of Atlanta, Big Tigger, so you've probably seen him all over the place on both the silver screen and all over radio, and even the voice of the Atlanta Hawks. So the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival is the type of festival that you just cannot miss.
That's great. Proud of you guys. Thank you for doing that. Barbara, you got questions?
I do. Thank you all.
And you got some video if you want. But go ahead. You're up.
I was going to say, I just want to thank you all for joining us today, and thank you for putting together bringing the Smooth Jazz Festival back to Birmingham. I attended back in 2014, the first year it came, and every year since then. And you've been gone for a couple of years, but I tell you, the word is spreading like wildfire. I get calls almost every day from family and friends across the country, from Seattle to DC and Orlando and Miami. asking about the festival and am I going and who all's going to be here. So I've shared information with them, and you got a lot of people coming in from almost everywhere. So I wanted to just ask you guys.
Hey, Barbara, can I interrupt just for a second?
Yes.
And let these guys know you got a hit on your hands if they call him Barbara. So let me just tell you. Go ahead, Barbara.
Thank you, Thom. I was just going to ask you guys, who are you most excited about seeing? Because I mean, every artist is on the schedule. I'm in the lineup. I'm just, can't wait to see them. But just who are you most excited to bring back?
Art, you go first.
I think she said it. Every artist on the schedule. I'm excited to see every artist on the schedule.
Yeah.
But obviously, the headliners are the ones that will draw the majority of the people in. But every artist on this schedule is a type of artist that people will enjoy. This festival will be entertained by top-notch artists from across this country. The headliners, of course, the Isley Brothers, Music Soul Child, Boney James, Jonathan Butler, Kirk Whalen. So those are all amazing artists in themselves. But outside of that, Vincent Ingala, Marion Meadows, Alex Bouillon,
Yes.
Huge Groove, Keiko Masui. These guys are just the top-notch artists that you will find. So, Barbara, I'm excited about seeing every last one of them. Unfortunately, I'll be working the whole time, so
Yes.
because I'm trying to enjoy them, but also making sure that everyone who walks through those gates for the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival, that they have the most amazing experience, because we want them to leave there understanding that they had a great time and looking forward to what we are bringing next, which will be Montgomery and also Miami and then back here. But yes, we were gone for a couple of years because of the hiatus, because of the pandemic. But even before then, we had our last festival in 2017. So we're back now after being gone for 5 years, and the appetite for this festival is tremendous.
Wow, thank you.
Yeah, Barbara, like Art said, of course, every artist is important. Everything that we do is by design. So when you have a festival and the headliners are not the headliners that normally would have been, you must have a great recipe. So we're excited about that. We are truly excited about the 23 artists that we have. That's, phenomenal. Top 10, top 20 of the jazz chart.
Absolutely.
And you guys mentioned Eric Estes, and I know Eric has been around for a while. He's a Birmingham guy, and I think I'm always for the guys from Birmingham, and so I think it'll just be wonderful. I know he'll do a great job for you guys. Michael, you got a question?
Well, yes, I do. I have a question that's different for each one of our guests today. And good morning. Thank you guys, Cedric and Art, for being with us. And I want to commend you on your accomplishments and doing the Steel City Jazz Festival. But I want to start with Cedric. Cedric, you've been a smooth jazz promoter for quite some time, but I understand that you've put on these festivals in the U.S. and Canada. Tell me what it's like when you put on a jazz festival in Canada, and how many do you do on an annual basis?
Well, Michael, I wouldn't say we're in Canada just yet, but that we are headed that way. But everything else that we do is, of course, 4 different cities, which is unheard of. And, it's amazing because each city has its own challenges. But the great thing about Art and I, we make the adjustments as we go, be it if it's on the local, the national, whatever scale it is, to make sure you have an experience coming in. So yes, with of course the great city of Birmingham, and then Montgomery next, and then Miami, true international cities, and Orlando coming back. It's awesome. It's a challenge, but we get it done. We have a good team. I think that would be fair to say.
And Michael, you're probably getting the information about Canada is because that's one of the places where you draw a lot of our music festival goers. Exactly. So a lot of people come from Canada. In fact, we had them come from as far away as New Zealand and also from the Caribbean to the festival. So we're drawing in from just about every state in this country, but also internationally from Canada, from across the pond, and also down in the South America as well.
Okay,
It's
great.
wonderful.
You're right, because I saw that Europe and Canada on there, so I was wondering what that was like. Okay, well, Art, for you, I have a separate question. I noticed that you have participated in Real Men Cook and Gourmet Gents with the National Coalition of 100 Black Women. And I myself had an invitation to participate in Gourmet Gents here in Atlanta. So I want to ask you a backstory question. Did you actually cook and prepare your meal that was on display? And if so, what was it? And the reason why I asked that question is when I was asked to participate, I told the person to come. I said, look, I really just don't have time to do it. They said, well, we'll cook it for you. We just want you to come up and show up and be there. So I said, well, no, I'm not going to fake cook. If I'm going to cook or participate, I'm going to do it my own. So I want you to go ahead and answer the question, elaborate on that.
Well, I don't know what your situation was like, but there was no way I was going to be in a cooking contest and not cook. And not only did I participate, I won. I won both.
All right. Yeah.
You can burn.
I just wanted to make sure that we had the facts right. I'm a person about, so I want to make sure it's out. Seriously, though, all joking aside, yes, indeed, I cooked my banana pudding, which is something that I learned from my mom many years ago, and then I gave it my own twist. But I won 2 years with Real Men Cook, and 1 year that I participated with Gourmet Gents, I won that as well. So not only after winning the dessert section for Real Men Cook, my banana pudding was a part of a website, catercakes.com, where you were able to, in fact, order my banana pudding, and then we would prepare it for you. I would prepare it. In fact, when I was working in Atlanta, I worked in 2 television stations in Atlanta, XIA and Fox 5 in Atlanta. I had to take off from work the Thanksgiving holiday weekend because I had 67 orders of banana pudding to fulfill.
Wow.
So I took off to work to fulfill banana pudding and also fed it to Monique. So if you go out on YouTube, you'll find that segment of me feeding my banana pudding to Monique when she was a guest on Good Day Atlanta with me. And so my banana pudding has a little bit of a reputation, Michael. So.
All right.
All right. Okay.
Go ahead, Art.
Well, good. Congratulations on that, Art. Now I wish I had gone ahead and done it because I had fried chicken that was world famous, so we could have had chicken and banana pudding.
We can still have chicken and banana pudding.
Right. It's not too late.
Bring it to the Jazz Fest.
That is great. Barbara, you got another question?
I do. I want them to share with the viewers that are interested in coming to the Jazz Festival. How do they get tickets? How much are tickets? Where do they go? Where do they find additional information about the festival?
Well, of course, you can get it at stillcityjazzfest.org is our website, and there it is now, scrolling at the bottom of the screen, stillcityjazzfest.org. You can find the ticket information there. We sold out of VIP. VIP has been sold out for quite some time now. Even when we did the early bird special, that went so fast.
Yes.
That was over quickly too because of the appetite there for it. So things are looking good. As I said, I was going through the list of places where we're getting tickets from right now, and it's from California to Washington to New York to Florida, Texas and North Carolina, South Carolina, Detroit and Chicago and Cleveland. So people are getting tickets from all over the place, but go to stillcityjazzfest.org. That's where you can find all the information. But this is also important as well. Make sure you download our Smooth Jazz Fest app. Smooth Jazz Fest app, which is available for both Android and Apple users. That's where you get all your new information. We get the information. We push the information there first for all the updates, for lineup changes. And it's also a place you can get prizes for tickets and shirts, t-shirts and drink tickets. Tell us, Cedric, everything is out there, and we're making it easy for you to get that information.
Yeah, that's the fun part about it. We've used every platform known to man to make sure that you don't have to search for it to get it. And what we do want to do too, Thom, we have a commemorative poster, young lady by the name of Rhonda Iglesia. She paints live. So we want to definitely send that to you, get art, and we get the address. I think this is a piece of art that once you frame it, you're going to be so proud of.
Thank you.
All of the artists that are on there with the Boney James and Kirk Whalen and all them guys. that we have, and there's only I think we only did 40 copies of it. So
Okay, well, thank you
Wow,
so
that's
much,
great.
man.
yes, sir.
I'm just proud of you guys. You know, Birmingham's not only my hometown. I really consider it my home in a lot of ways, and I've always been proud of things that go on in Birmingham. All right, that leads to a question for you. You were in Birmingham once before, and you came back after so many years. How has it changed for the better?
Oh, tremendously. And you're right. I left Birmingham. Oh man. In what year was that? In 2003. Yeah, 2003. When I left Birmingham, moved to New York, then moved to Miami, ended up in Atlanta, and then got married. My wife and I moved to Los Angeles, and that's where we moved here from after living in Los Angeles a couple years. But Birmingham's changed a lot. I mean, Tom, those early days when you and I were hanging out here in Birmingham back in those early 90s, when you were here in the city, Birmingham did not have what we're seeing now with the Uptown area, Regents Park, Railroad Park, rather, Regents Field. The Summit, when I left here in 2003, the Summit only had one level. There are two levels now to the Summit where the Cheesecake Factory and everything is. The development downtown with Protective Stadium, the upgrades to Legion Field, the Southern Negro League Museum is here. It has just grown by leaps and bounds. But I also think that the mindset has changed. When I left here, I thought that I was dealing with a city where people just really weren't a whole lot of forward thinkers, to be honest, which was the reason why I wanted to leave and go somewhere where I thought that there were more people who were along the same line that I was in terms of mindset. Come back here, and this city is bustling under the leadership of Randall Woodfin. This young mayor who's the same age as my son, went to school with my son at Shays Valley High School, and to see what this young mayor is doing in this city now. So things, I think regionally, there's a lot more cooperation than there was before. So things are changing, and changing for the betterment, and the opportunity to do great things like the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival is why we're able to do what we're doing now, because of the changes that we're seeing in the city. In fact, and I believe you guys have a commercial of ours that you could play to show what it's all about as well.
Can we get that up? It's Sean? Are you capable? Are you able to get that up for us?
We're back with the legendary Isley Brothers. Boney James. Music Soul Child. Kirk Whalum. Jonathan Butler. Headliners for the return of the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival. 2 amazing nights, June 17th and 18th, Birmingham's Lynn Park. Also featuring Alex Bouillon, Damian Escobar, Mesa, Miriam Meadows, Huge Groove, Kyle Turner, Eric Essence, and many more. Tickets going fast at SteelCityJazzFest.org. We're back. The Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival, the music prelude to the Birmingham World Games 2022.
And as that is so important to say that too. We are the World Games 2022 will be happening a couple of weeks after the festival. They are an in-kind sponsor as well. And as I heard you guys talk about, the USFL is here with the 8 teams playing here in Birmingham. So when you talk about that, World Games coming to Birmingham, USFL is here, and the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival being back. What other place would you want to?
Yes.
Barbara and Michael, you guys ask another question. I got to step aside just for a minute.
Okay.
Sounds good. My first question is going to be for Cedric. Cedric, tell us about your H-1B1 State Award program that you received for your 501(c) and kind of expound on that a little bit, please.
Sure will, Michael. Man, we were so excited about being awarded that particular program at that particular time, because there was a need and a void. So we were able to come in and infuse all of that together. Actually, at that time, we built about 5 computer technology centers. And my team at that time, we, of course, had we were blessed to get a lot of equipment from the Department of Defense, Lockheed Martin. So we would actually bring those computers in, bring them up to standards. Then my team actually had to, we did all of the networking, even down to the Cat5 wires that we had to actually put the clips on. So my team to do something of that magnitude was pretty special. And today, those labs are still going and going strong. And Greensboro, down in the Black Belt, as we like to call it here, we put a 20-unit system down there. And man, it's humming today. You know, we're excited about going into, you know, a impoverished neighborhood and community and making a real difference in America, not only that, but in the Southeast.
That's great. That's
That is
fantastic.
great.
Art, I want to talk to you from one clothes horse to another. I like my suits. Tell me about the Art Franklin collection and what sets your suits apart. What's your signature design with your custom suits?
Besides being engaging, bold, and innovative, outside of that, the most important thing about why I launched the clothing line was to make sure that I sent people to the Inslee area. The purpose of my line was not so much to offer something that was just my look, but also but most importantly was to push people into an area, into our communities, because we spend so much time shopping outside of our communities. I thought it was important to have a clothing line at Trey's Washington, the Trey's Fine Clothing inside the Cottons building in the Inslee area. For those who know Birmingham, that's an area that that was really bustling back in the day, but not so much today. But now things are changing, and Trey has enjoyed a lot of success since we've launched the line. A lot of people have gone there, but you can get ties, bow ties, custom shirts, and custom suits with my own flair and my own colors that I like. I like bold colors. I like to stand out so that when you walk in the room, people know who you are. People say, "Oh, who's that guy?" The ladies check you out because they say, "Who is he? He's special." And the guys say, "I want to look like that guy. I want to be like that guy." So that's what makes them very special, Michael.
Okay.
Hey.
Well,
And Art, I have to add it. Your clothing line really does stand out. I had a 79-year-old cousin who watched the news every night just to see what Art was going to wear on the news. So yeah, she was really into the fashion and what you were wearing every day.
Thank you so much. I love that.
Okay, sounds good.
well, let me ask you about your suits, because, you know, a lot of suits off the rack, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. They're designed and built for a certain segment of the population.
Yes.
And there's another segment of the population that maybe like myself wear 46 long, but I don't have the midriff to go with a 46 long. And I got to go and get it all chopped up to get that look. And the pants are like 40s and my waist is like a 34, 35. So how do you accommodate that?
We accommodate that by giving you a custom fit. That Trey Washington is an amazing tailor. When you go in to get your suit, he'll fit you. And let me tell you, the very first person who bought a suit in the Art Franklin collection was a former Alabama and Indianapolis Colts football player, Chris Gould. He walked in and got his size. Since then, we've had a number of those retired NFL players to come in and get fitted. So if we can fit some of these retired players, because, you know, when you stop playing ball and you're not active, Michael, you don't have that same football look, right, Tom, that you used to have when in your playing days. So it's important to make sure you fit them. So right, off the rack, some of the things don't fit the way they should fit, and you have to end up going to a tailor anyway. But why go through that process? Start at the very beginning. Get you a custom suit at an affordable price. That was the other thing that was important to have in Inslee, because you didn't want to have a clothing line in our community that we could not afford. So that was the other reason that we made sure that it was affordable for people to come in and get a suit.
I thought you were going to say that you had customized the suit for Barkley, but no. Okay.
With Redmont Distillery being one of our sponsors this year for the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival, there's still talk that Barkley may be attending the Steel City Smooth Jazz Festival. And when he does, we will put him in a suit. Trust me.
Good. Good deal. Good deal. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much, man. That's just wonderful. All right, Cedric, you got any last comments?
Yes, I am
Go
not
ahead.
running for mayor, Tom Gosselaar.
Okay. Okay.
You brought that up.
Hey,
You brought that
I
up
brought
early
it
in the
up because
process.
I would support you. So,
Well, I think in the interview, my exit interview from the station, they said, there's a lot of talk about that. Would you consider? I said, I've learned to say never because I thought that I would not be back in Birmingham. I'm back in Birmingham and loving every minute of it. That is not in my cards, but I don't know what's in God's cards. I've learned to follow what God has in store for me. So, Tom, if that should happen, I certainly will make sure I give you a call, because
there
if
you
you
go.
support me,
There you go.
if you support me, things will be all right. But I have no
All
plans
right.
to run for mayor.
Well, you got to get Barbara. Now you get Barbara, you're halfway there.
I'll work on it. All right.
Me and my 5,000 friends on Facebook, we'll make sure
That's
we
right.
support you.
That's right. All right. And Cedric, thank you guys so much.
you.
Best of luck
Yes.
on the festival, best of everything. And I'm glad to have you guys on, and look forward to the Jazz Festival. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much,
Thank
Tom.
you, guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
So, Mike. My closing commentary, or as I see it, I'd like to honor the gentlemen of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, Inc., the Sigma Delta chapter, as they celebrated their 50th anniversary on the campus of Auburn University, and honored the first 12 guys called the Purple Smoke Gang, 12 dynamic men on the charter line in 1972. I remember that. I remember those. I knew all the guys and still know those guys. And there were many of whom I knew and very proud of. I also know the courage that it took for these men to be a part of Auburn's history. 2 of the charter line members are deceased, but the other 12 returned to campus, some of them for the first time since they left almost 50 years ago. Along with their line sweetheart, Nell Trammell Bailey. What an amazing celebration. And those gentlemen's names are Vernell Barnes, who I've had subsequent conversations with as far as project work goes. Jimmy Knight, who I haven't seen in a long time. And I understand he sent me a message. And Jimmy, I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you. Clifton Kirksey, great guy. Washington Carr, Norman Eubanks, Charles Smith, Robert Bernard Bailey, Melvin Little. It's spelled Jonathan Allen, but we always called him Joe Nathan Allen. He is deceased. Joe was probably my best friend at the time at the camp at Auburn. And I remember when he got sick and ended up passing in D.C., a great friend. George Smith, Harold Drain, Donald Williams, Henry Ha Aldridge, and Jeff Green, who is also deceased. The line sweetheart was Nell Trammell Bailey, and the chapter advisor was D.C. Madison. So we want to just pay tribute to those guys for what they did for the students who came behind them at Auburn University. And that is how I see it on this 31st of May in the year 2022. That's our show for today. I want to thank the audience. We appreciate you. I want to thank Michael and Barbara. Thank our G-list guests, Art and Cedric. Thank our sponsor, Best Girl Inc. Thank Sean Jones, the organizer and producer. And remember, enjoy yourself. Make every day count. Stay safe. Peace.